one thing I really love is I write down every time I'm triggered, like on a note on my phone. And then I have a meditative practice where I kind of bring that experience into my awareness. And it's called repatterning is the name of the practice. And basically, you can use that to understand like what is the bedrock of beliefs and experiences in my psyche that is causing that, and how can I bring love into that experience. And so I do that every day. Another one is I do these meditations on trust successfully. And for me, like just like feeling what it feels like to completely trust life's unfolding on a daily basis is absolutely transformational.
It is so simple, but extremely effective. I'm not a big promoter here, but I'm promoting because that changed me right there.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text optimize to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stevr1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona, and I'm excited to have you on because my guest today is going to talk about consciousness. It's a word that's out there a lot, but I need to learn more, and I want to learn more. I think you do too, because I think it's a powerful way for your life and your business. And, you know, we call it Doing Business with a Servant's Heart, but you could put life in there, doing life with a servant's heart. They kind of bridge together and work together. So let's bring our guest on, talk about consciousness. Scott, welcome to the show.
Steve, what's up, man? It's good to be here.
Great to have you. Let's jump right into the book. Let's talk about that and how it's involved with consciousness.
Yeah, so I'll do a little hold up here. Conscious accomplishment, how to use personal achievement for spiritual growth. I think I didn't even know what the word consciousness was until I turned 30. And, you know, I was kind of your consummate high achiever, raised a bunch of money for tech companies, was part of a $100 million exit. I sold my last company to Salesforce, and like this idea of consciousness and spirituality and enlightenment and all these words, I was like, who needs that? Like, I want to just get all the stuff that I want, and maybe at the end of my life I'll think about that. And you know, through a bunch of unexpected turns, I had some, I guess you would call them altered states of consciousness experiences when I did turn 30, and I opened up to this understanding that reality is much more than we're led to believe. And I connected with, you know, parts of my self, what I would call like my soul, that I didn't even know was there. And so after that point, I became very interested in understanding how to deepen that connection and live from a heart-centered place, as you describe. And so I poured myself into that while running a business, and I was really confused of like how to do both at the same time, right? Because we have a lot of models of like yogis and people living in an ashram, right? And they just meditating all day. And I was like, I'm the founder of a tech company, you know, like what do I do here? And fortunately, I met a teacher who basically coached me how to actually use my business and use all the things I was doing in the world as a path of personal, spiritual, and consciousness evolution. And so, that was a incredible gift and learning experience. And that's really what the essence of the book is about. For people that are in the world trying to make shit happen, but also have a desire to expand their awareness, to understand more about themselves and reality itself. You can do that while doing all of those things at the same time. And I think it's a much needed message for people today that are living in Western society.
So people listen, we have a lot of founders, entrepreneurs that watch this, and you asked before the show and you didn't answer. I'm going to answer on the recording while we're live. And this is powerful because that's what consciousness is. You just taught me, which I love hosting, is a servant's heart. And it's part of it. It's not the whole thing. But somebody grabs this book, and I hope all of you do, because I'm going to buy it. I'm excited. What do you want them to get from it? I read this book. What am I going to walk away with?
Yeah, I think the main practice, or the main idea is that everything, all the ways that you react, perceive things, make decisions, it all emanates from your consciousness. And most of our consciousness has inherited. It's like we have like a source code and instruction set that was defined by our parents and our culture and all of these things. And it feels like we have free will, but we're following someone else's instructions. And every day we have an opportunity to basically notice how we're reacting and perceiving everything, and use that as an entry point to go into our subconscious and learn about what those instructions are, what those belief systems are, what those things that happened to us when we were a kid that are still running on repeat are. And so, to me, that's how someone moves closer to true authenticity and freedom. And you can do it exactly where you are by just starting to pay attention to your reactions to everything.
Freedom is a powerful word, especially now with COVID, just going through that. The world, it's crazy right now. People are not free. I love that you said that. And I'm in my 60s. I have source code that I'm trying to get through. So
We all do, dude.
Yeah, we all do. And we built it up. And that's why I love what you do. So if you're talking to some founders, entrepreneurs that have teams, how do we bring consciousness into their business?
Well, I think it starts with yourself, right? You're not going to bring consciousness into a business if you're acting like an unconscious asshole all day. And so I think it really starts with just that kind of like taking ownership of your own way of being, starting to use your business as a way to see yourself more clearly. And so, when you have a disagreement with an employee, or a client doesn't get back to you, or whatever thing triggers you, like, use that, go into that, understand why am I reacting this way? And you'll realize that it's like a you thing. It's not a someone else thing. And so I think there's a need to own and model that. And then at that point, I think there's like a slow introduction of these types of practices that you can start to socialize within the company. Like my wife, one of the things that she does at her business, we have a recruiting business called Conscious Talent, where actually we give everybody access to a coach. Anybody that works there like has access to resources to learn these practices to help them, regardless of whether they want to use it for like their personal life or their professional life. But I think like that accessibility is key.
Teaching, giving them the tools. Don't just say, hey, be conscious, business,
Right.
or, business employees. Yeah, you got to educate, and that's powerful. What's some daily practices you do that maybe the audience can partake, or I could partake, to help with consciousness?
Yeah, one thing I really love is I write down every time I'm triggered, like on a note of my phone. And then I have a meditative practice where I kind of bring that experience into my awareness. And it's called repatterning is the name of the practice. I teach it in my book. And basically you can use that to understand like what is the bedrock of beliefs and experiences in my psyche that is causing that, right? That is causing that trigger to what would otherwise, to some people, maybe not be a triggering experience at all. And how can I bring love into that experience? And so I do that every day, and it's been transformative. So so that's like an absolutely big one. Another one is I do these meditations on trust. I think like one of the biggest challenges that we have is like this feeling of unsafety and need to control everything. And it's pervasive in business. It's in fact, it's like kind of it's kind of like how we're taught that business works and how to operate successfully. And for me, like just like feeling what it feels like to completely trust life's unfolding on a daily basis is absolutely transformational.
Well, you sold me on the book when you just gave me repattering. That it is so simple, but extremely effective. And audience, I'm going to say grab the book. I'm not a big promoter here, but I'm promoting because that changed me right there. That's so simple. Have pads of paper around, write that down, and talk. Work with your consciousness. I've got a question because you've been super successful. You started Troops from zero, and you sold for a lot of money. It's extremely successful. How does consciousness change as you grow and start scaling in a business?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're able to see a lot more, a lot wider perspective. So, before, like how this shows up is we have a lot of choices in business and it's like an either or, right? It's like I can invest in this or I can do this. I can hire this person, I can do that. I have this direction or I have that direction. And usually in most cases, there's like a third option. There might even be like a fourth, a fifth, or a sixth option. And we're just so narrowly focused, we can't see those more creative and inclusive opportunities. And that's a function of awareness. Like that opportunity is there. It's just a question of whether you can see it. And so, the continued work on the consciousness as your mind gets decluttered and your lens widens of like all the being able to see and hold all things at once, you're able to just see a lot more of those like third and fourth and both end options. And that, results in more success quite often.
So I'm hearing is once we were blinded, now our vision is 2020 or whatever, higher 20, 50 with ourselves. That's the
That's
vision
right.
we're talking about. Seeing ourselves in that mirror of not 5'9", 240 pounds, but much deeper.
That's right.
And does meditation help with that?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the key. There's learning to still the mind is essential, but there's also learning to examine the mind, right? Learning to examine why do we have the thoughts that we do and what is underneath that. And that's where that repatterning practice comes in that allows us to understand like why we function the way that we do, which is really essential for mastery, self mastery, I would say.
Yeah. So I just had a great question. Well, I'm going to say it's a great question because a lot of people are in business missing purpose. And maybe you can say vision and put those together. When I get closer to my consciousness, does it help me get closer to my purpose in business?
1,000%. Because at least here's the way that I see it:
Yep.
your purpose already exists.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like what you came here to do as a being, as a soul, has always been there. The question is whether you can see it. And whether you can see it, to me, is a function of awareness. And so usually there's like this thing that we have intended to do. We don't know what it is. We don't know how to get there. And to me, it's like the more we like pull out all the weeds internally, all the unhealed emotions, all the traumatic experiences, all the stories we tell ourselves, that purpose starts to emerge. And then the question comes is, do we have what it takes to go step into that? Right? Or is there more limiting beliefs and stories and all of these things, right? And so that again is a consciousness function. So what I describe in my book actually is that, you know, when you're focusing on the consciousness work, like stepping into your purpose becomes an inevitability because it's a function of whether you can see it and whether you can move freely towards it.
Yeah. I'm looking down the road. I see that orange Tesla. You don't see it. That's kind of what you're saying is my vision's a little deeper than yours.
That's right.
And anybody can do this. That's the cool thing. This is
That's
not
right.
because Scott's so great. It's anybody can do it.
That's right. I mean, I couldn't have been further from this 10 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and now it's just so central to my daily experience.
As I told you, I love podcast hosts, and you are one. Let's talk about your Evolution FM is your podcast.
That's right.
What's the goal with that? What are we going to
I
hear?
mean, I think it's to spread this information that we're talking about right now. You know, I think this is like relative to like being a millionaire and six pack abs and longevity and you know all this stuff like growing your audience. Like consciousness is like a pretty niche thing. It's like it's not like everybody's waking up in America and be like, oh man, consciousness is my problem. So you know, Evolution FM is about the evolution of consciousness and basically bringing on teachers, leaders, entrepreneurs, people who are deeply committed to this question and spreading that information. And a big passion of mine too is just like talking about human potential, because I think as you go down this path, you just realize like as humans, like we have a lot more abilities than we've been led to believe, and it's part of our birthright to uncover and own those.
You know, and you hear it's interesting consciousness in your brain, right? Subconscious, how I think we use 5% of our brain. Excuse me, I don't know what that number is, but it's a small amount.
That's right.
So I'm hearing consciousness can allow me to use more of my brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think your brain and consciousness are essentially aspects of each other. I think I'm of the belief that consciousness is actually what creates the brain, but we experience our consciousness in a way that it functions with the brain. And yeah, I mean, you see, there's lots of studies, there's lots of like psychedelic studies and different things and meditators where you see that like those people are accessing latent parts of the brain in altered states of consciousness that are not available to most people because they don't do the training or don't expose themselves to certain conditions that allow for that. And it's often in those states that creative solutions come to mind. So imagine if you worked on that every day, what that might result in.
Well, I'm a fitness guy, so I'm thinking, yeah, you work out every day. In 6 months, you're going to muscles, you're going to grow, and all that happens. You got a story from? I'm sure you have many stories. You got a favorite story from your podcast you want to share?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I love Christian Sundberg's episode that I did recently. He was a meditator who, in a meditation, remembered what he, I guess, like pre-birth, like what was happening, like why he chose to come to Earth, why he chose to incarnate, and like what is beyond that plane that we typically experience, and describes that. And I mean, it's just a totally different perspective than how we are brought up to view that life works.
Yeah.
And so I found that totally fascinating. And I've had a lot of like people that have had like, you know, have like died and came back to life and things like that on the show as well.
I was just going to say fascinating. You just took the word from me, which I'm glad you did. Because I definitely have to listen to that. An audience will get the information, how you can access it. You're a tech guy. consciousness, farther from the truth. You mentioned it earlier. What do you see the further of the consciousness and AI in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, I think the path of consciousness is one of self-understanding, and I think AI is helping a lot of people do that, right? Like a lot of people are like putting their therapy notes in and journaling with it and like finding ways to understand more aspects of ourselves. I do think there's a sense of yeah, like the body, feeling into the body, and like feeling emotions that like, I mean, I don't know that AI will be able to do that for us. Like it's AI is still very kind of like a more of an intellect driven experience. Um, and I don't know that it will ever replace contemplative practice. It might aid or assist with that. So I think it's really going to be more about like how can AI assist us in using our inner technologies better than like ever like being the primary thing that gets us on a path of expanded consciousness.
Great answer. Wonderful. I ask that question a lot because that's the elephant in the room. I mean, I just doing a workshop this morning and AI was talked about all over. It is just part of the world. Coming to the end here, mental health. It's a massive problem right now. We're recording this December 16th. There was a shooting in Australia. I've had 3 shootings in California. Can consciousness help our mental health issues?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one and the same. It's like
Okay.
our consciousness is our inner experience. So it's like mental health is a consciousness thing. And so, yeah, I mean, there's like lots of ways that contemplative practice can help with that. Therapy, is starting to get into the consciousness work depending upon the type. And what what I what somebody said that I tend to agree with is like the end of therapy is like the start of the spiritual journey, and like that to me is like a lot of our mental health solutions today are like an on ramp to this deeper consciousness journey and question of who am I, what is this, and it's a wonderful journey.
Be very transparent, Scott. You hit me in the heart there a little bit because I've been through therapy, and you're right. They gave me tools to find myself even more that I can now do on my own. So, audience, if you're dealing with anything, what he just said is a game changer in your life or somebody else's life. And we'll talk about at the end here. I got one more question. I want to end the show, but I can't because you get so much great stuff. People listening are probably going, I'm loving this conscious thing, but what's my first step? Is there a first step they can take?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of good books out there. That's usually the first step that most people take is like reading
Okay.
about it. Like for me, like Michael Singer's work,
Mm-hmm.
Untethered Soul, The Surrender Experiment, those are really good. Um, you know, you could just ask around and just Eckhart Tolle, Power of Now. That's a big one for a lot of people. I would read about it. I would read books from teachers about it, and then obviously I have a book, but it's very targeted to people that are in business and high achievers that are like familiar with consciousness and they want to like really kind of implement
Expand
this
upon.
on a day-to-day basis.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing those other books and audience. You get to look those guys up. Amazon's always the best place, and we'll get access to your book here in a second. Let's end with an improv. I like to end with this fun question. So you're going to your favorite restaurant. I'm going to reserve a table. Me and you're going to sit at the table. I want you to invite 3 people that have been influential in your life, whether dead or alive, doesn't matter. And more importantly, in my eyes, what food would you order for the table?
Wow, great question. I think I'd invite David Hawkins.
Mm.
Well, I mean, I'd invite Jesus for sure.
Amen.
Let's throw Jesus in there. Let's throw David Hawkins in there. And then let's throw hmm, let's throw Ram Dass in there. Why not? And
Great table.
yeah, we would get steaks.
Amen. All right. Take a potato. I'm all in. That's good. And I think Jesus was probably our first conscious leader, I would think, consciousness leader. I'm glad you said that. It's a powerful tool. Scott, I met you for the first time today. I'm so impressed by your heart. You truly are a servant heart. Thank you for taking time, being very open with the audience. I know people want to reach out and connect with you. How can they do that?
Yeah, so you can check out my website, scottbritton.me. It has links to the podcast, the book, everything. I'm also on Substack. I write a lot there. You can just search my name, Scott Britton, and I'm on X as well, with the handle Britton, just my last name.
And by the way, if you're interested, he's a community as well. I didn't mention it, but I want to make sure I mentioned. You can go, I'm sure, go to the website and find out about the community. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah, perfect. And do that, because this can't be done alone. I've learned that. I'm sure Scott's learned that. We got to do it with people. This is not alone. This is not a solo job. This is a job of a tribe or a community. You've inspired me, Scott. So I'm going to do something special. Audience, I want you to listen carefully. The first 3 people that reach out to Scott and mention my podcast, Doing Business Servant's Heart, my name, whatever, and he knows it's my podcast, I'm going to send 3 of you his book for free. I'll get all your contact information through Scott, or he'll connect me with you. And I want you to connect with him, but I also want you to learn about consciousness. And if it's not for you, you can share it with somebody else. But I want to get you some. He said that earlier. Books are powerful. So let's get you a book. So the first 3 people that reach out, he'll let me know, and we'll go from there. Also, to subscribe to his podcast, my podcast, or all podcasts when it resonates with you. Because to me, podcasts are truly a gift. And today, Scott gave us a gift of consciousness. And you're at a Christmas party, because we're in December time right now, and people are talking about struggling. This is a podcast you want them to listen to. And then they can get the book, or go on the website, or take the steps to really impact them and make it a game changer in their life. So with that being said, me and Scott want to thank everyone for watching or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with the Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.